All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I hope, thank you for joining us this evening. And you can see here, I am here with Zell Liew. If you don't know him, he is a bit of a, oh, he is a bit of a JavaScript master. And so he's coming to join us to build a live calculator here in, well, we're going to be building it right here. You can see on my screen. And yeah, Zell, if you want to say anything as we get started on this, before we get started. Welcome.
Oh.
Joining us this evening, and you can see here I am here with Zell Liew. He is I can hear you coming through on my end. He is a bit of a JavaScript master, and so he's coming to join us to build a live. One second. I'll give a bit of a rundown there, just as Zell fixes his audio. Yeah, I've one sec, guys. Sorry, I just muted you, so don't worry. I'll talk a little bit. So anyway, here is just to let you know a little bit more about Zell. He is the genius behind Learn JavaScript, which is a really in-depth JavaScript course. And I know a lot of you guys are been talking to me about wanting to learn a little bit more JavaScript and dive into it. So I thought, who else than to join in this? I've done Zell's course. I joined it a long time ago now, and really in depth, and I can't say enough good things about it. So I have put links to all of Zell's stuff in the description below if anybody does want to check them out. There's his blog, there's the Learn JavaScript link, and a couple of other things in there as well. And this is, we are going to be building one of the components from here. Let's see if I can find it really quick. Calculator. Oops, gotta spell things right. So you can see we are going to be building out the calculator. Whoops. Did I go too far? Anyway, here's some of the, there's the calculator we will be building out, and you can see there's a bunch of other components that he does build out in his course right there. So yeah, so that's what we'll be focusing on for this one. Now, in this part of the stream, we're going to be just focusing on the HTML and the CSS. So it's sort of me who's going to be taking the lead for today. And then we're going to come back on Thursday at the same time, and Zell is going to go in and do the JavaScript magic stuff. I'm just going to make it, we're going to get it on the screen today, and then it's going to actually become functional on the stream on Thursday.
Yep.
And I see a few people in the chat. I just want to say thank you guys for joining. There's a lot of people in here, so thank you very much for coming to hang with us. A few people mentioning that they're not watching the debate tonight. So yeah, thank you for either putting it on the side or what have you. Hopefully we're going to be more entertaining than what's going on there if you're joining us from the States. I see people coming in from Nigeria, Sweden. So thank you guys so much for joining us in. Fuzzy Weasel, are we going to be looking at event bubbling too? Zell, are we going to be taking a look at that at all?
We are going to look at event bubbling on Thursday. It's Friday my time, so I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, the times are a little off. Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, let's stick to the US time zone at this point. So yeah, we're gonna look at event bubbling, and if you have any questions as I'm coding, feel free to ask. But that's on 2 days later, not today. Kelvin is gonna work on the HTML and CSS only.
Yep. Awesome. And I just have to figure out how the next scene, so people can actually see my code. There we go. Okay, let's transition that over. And so some people were asking about the code. So here, we don't have much code yet. We're starting off with a blank slate and a blank screen. So in the HTML right now, we have nothing going on at all, really. We just have a container and a div class of calculator where we're going to build everything out. And if we come and take a look at the styles, we have some stuff that is set up here already because it would be really boring to watch me make a whole bunch of custom properties here. And then we just have a little bit of basic stuff set up here, setting the font size, body display flex, just to get the calculator. It's going to be right in the middle of the page, and a box shadow that's on there. So far we have absolutely nothing. And I see a question about it. Will it be recorded? This is going to be recorded, and you'll be able to watch it back later. There's no problem at that whatsoever. And so the very first thing we're going to do is just to build out the calculator itself, which we need. Obviously, we have our div here of the calculator. And actually, I just realized That's okay. I'm going to go. There's two, or actually, if I jump back to here, if we look here at the calculator working, you can see that we have this area at the top, which is going to be our display, and then we have all the keys down here at the bottom. So those are the first two things we're going to put together. So I'm just going to do a div class of calculator display, which is that black part at the top, and then a calculator keys right there. And nothing too complicated. The display, we can put the number 0 in there for now, and just like that, you can see that it has come up. So we know that everything is working. If you have any questions, by the way, as we're going through this, you can see Zell is in the chat. So if you want to ask him anything as I'm going through in the chat, he'll be keeping an eye on it. And I'll try and keep my eye on it in a bit, but I'm going to be going through the code a little bit more than I will be looking at the chat. So for the keys themselves, we need to get a key for all of our operators up here at the top, all the numbers and the equal, the clear, and all of that. So for that, we need them to be something that's going to be interactable with. You know, we have to click the buttons and actually make something happen on them. So because there's something that someone's clicking on and we're getting, you know, an interactive behavior from it, we're going to make them all buttons. So it'll be a button. And we need a whole bunch of them. So I am using Emmet here. It does make my life a little bit easier. And I forgot how many we need. I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I can just do button times 17. And if I hit tab on my keyboard, it gives me 17 of them. If you're using VS Code, Emmet is pre-installed on there. So it does make your life a little bit easier. And in here, we just need to actually populate these. So this might be a little bit boring, but we're going to come through. Plus, minus, I need the times, which I think we just need to do times like that. Times, what else do we have? The divide, I have that off screen. I'm just going to grab that. I don't know what the short one is for that. So we can put it in. And then we just need a 1. So sorry, this isn't the most exciting part, but whoops. 7, 8, 9, 0. After the 0, what do we need? We need the dot and we need the clear, except I think, yeah, that's fine. 0, the dot, and here is just a C that we can bring in, or AC, for our clear button. And did I not do enough? We need the equals. Button equals on there like that. I'll hit save, and we have some stuff coming in.
I think you did a greater than and equals to rather than an equal over there, Kevin.
Oh, where is that? Here. Oh.
Yeah.
Did I? I think we're okay.
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay. Super.
And I think I just wanted to jump in and say that you notice that we're using at and times instead of the X character inside the button.
Mm-hmm.
That's because of accessibility, because if we do use X, the screen reader will say X instead of like times.
That's an awesome point. So yeah, he's just, you know, if I did it, you can do an X. The other thing is like this, it really looks like an X, whereas, you know, see the difference there? One of them looks like the times, or you can do a lowercase, but it's not going to look the same. But the screen reader, for accessibility purposes, obviously we want it to actually read out the right thing. So like that, we get everything in place that we need. So that is pretty much all we need on the HTML side. It's not too complicated there. Where the fun does start is more with the CSS. And what we want to do with the CSS, let's start just by coming in, and we'll give a bit of styling. It's a word I have trouble spelling. Calculator display. And on this one, we need it just to get that dark gray background. So I'll start with that so we can see it. So we'll give it a background color. And we did set up the custom properties. And nice thing with VS Code, actually, if you just type double hyphen, you can access all your custom properties right away. Sadly, it doesn't do this in Sass files, but it does it in regular CSS. So that makes it really easy to get what you're after. And so color here too, we can set it up so we can actually see it, which we want it to be the lightest color that we have. Actually, my calculator itself, do I want, or we can put the width here, width of 16.25 em, just so we have, I'll do a rem, so we have a size on there, and I'm wondering if I should, I'm going to keep going, but I feel like oh, I see someone just mentioning something in the chat. Did I skip? Ah, that's why my buttons didn't work out. I skipped one. There we go. Thanks, Jody, for mentioning that in the chat. So let's keep going here. Obviously, we want it to look a little bit better, so I will add a bit of padding on there. So in general with padding, it's not always the case, but in general, if you do a little bit more on the left and the right than the top and the bottom, it tends to look a little bit more balanced. So just a little bit less on there. If it's a button, you can even do like smaller amounts on the top and the bottom. But if you want something to be balanced, it generally needs to be a bit more on the left and the right. We can do a text align on the right, align on the right, like that, because we want the text to be over there, and font size should be bigger. Font size. There's different ways you can come up with font sizes. I am taking this from how Zell had built it out for his app. So when in there, he was using a font scale. So if any of you know about font scales, you can use calc in a really good way for that and just multiply by numbers. And so we can do 1.2 times 1.2 to get to the size we want. So if you are using a font scale for something, the easiest way to do it, like this would be, you have your 1 rem, then you're multiplying it. If you wanted it another step up, you do another 1.2, and then you'd get the next size up on your font scale. It can end up being kind of long, but you do need that multiplication over and over again to be following the scale like that. So we can set that up right there. And I think that's all we need on there. Cool. So we'll keep on going. Do I need a width on the calculator itself, or am I going to put that on the keys as well? I just want to see how I set that up. I have the display and the keys. We'll come and put our display grid and we'll see what happens here. So I'm going to be using grid for the keys. So calculator keys. And for now, I'm just going to put a background on here so we can see what we're working on, and I'll take that off after. But there's the area that has all my keys in it, and then we have all the individual keys in there. So for this, I do want to do a display of grid, which should completely change what this looks like. There we go. So when we do display grid, what's happening is it's automatically assuming we only have one column, and then it's just automatically making rows for everything that's in there. So there's no grid defined yet, but everything is living within a grid cell already. I see somebody mentioning that this isn't Twitch. Yeah, this is since I'm doing a bit of a special live stream here with Zell, we decided to come over here on YouTube. So for today and the one on Thursday, we will be here on YouTube, and I'll be back over on Twitch after that. So if anybody does want to follow my live streams, I am twice a week over on Twitch, but different hours. This is kind of fun that me and Zell got to do this at this hour because we're at 12 hours apart, so it's kind of hard to coordinate. But it does make it nice that a bit of a different crowd can come and visit than I usually have on my live streams.
Yeah, I think it's about 9 p.m. over there and it's 9 a.m. over here right now.
Yeah. So we got display grid on there. So with the grid, then what we can do is our grid template columns. So since it has no columns yet, but when we come in with our grid template columns, one of the best things with it is just doing a repeat. And how many columns do you want? 4. If you did 4, I could say like 100 pixels, and then it's going to be each, or I'll do it 200 pixels just so we can see it a bit better. So now each one is 200 pixels. So it's made a grid that has 4 columns, each of 200 pixels. But I mean, that's not always the best thing to do, setting a solid value like that. Obviously, it's not fantastic. Just like before, though, it is still making the rows automatically. So it does 4, and then it just wraps the content around. But for this, we can just do an auto, and that means it's automatically going to calculate how big each one should be. So you don't have to give it an actual size if you just want it to automatically make 4 columns that fit in the space that's provided. I think we want to. Sorry.
Kevin, mind if I interrupt you for a bit?
Yeah,
do you
go
mind
for it.
like sharing your server with me because
Oh, did
at
it
this
stop?
point, but at this point, I'm looking at YouTube. It
Oh,
lags like 8 seconds, and I'm a bit of a there's a bit of a dissonance with what you're
whoops.
doing and what I'm
Yeah,
seeing on YouTube, and it's whoa,
sorry about
it's
that.
pretty hard for me to help you with
Whoops.
any debugs, anything.
I completely forgot to share the server with you. I apologize.
No worries. Cool. All right, I see now.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Zepperoni, you're here at 3 a.m. Welcome. Make sure you get some sleep after this. Now, the other thing that I've done with the calculator now, because we use the grid template columns, or the grid display grid on here, everything's lined up, but the only problem is the buttons are all in the wrong place. We're starting with a 1 here, and we're going 1 to 4, 5, we're going across that way. A real calculator is set up like this, where it's 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and a 0 over here. And what we can do to do that, one of the beautiful things about grid is grid template areas. And I used to not use grid template areas too much. I found the setup of it was a bit too long to do. But then the more I've been using grid, the more I've fallen in love with grid template areas. And there's something I use if I'm using grid, unless it's a really quick or simple grid, I tend to use it. I am going to do 4 dots at the top, and I'll explain that in a second. I'll explain this whole thing in a second. But we need 7, 8, 9, and then I want my equal button. The next one, whoops, I misspelled 7. The next one after that will be a 4, 5, 6, and we want the equal as well. And all I'm doing now is naming everything, and I am in Firefox, so we're going to be able to see this really well in just a second. And then my 0, decimal, clear, equal. And I'll hit save on that, and let's go, and I'm just going to open my, I'll do an inspect element. And because I'm in Firefox, and I know Grid is Chrome has introduced something I think that can look at this, but I haven't really been using it yet. Whoops, wrong one. So here, container, in my container, I have my calculator, and then here you can see it has grid. So if I click on that, it's actually, whoops, wrong. It's actually going to show it's going to show my grid showing up here. And I can actually say display the area names. So you can see it's set up all those area names across there. And one thing I also did here is on the top, we just put dots. So by putting those dots across the top, it just means they're unnamed areas. So that's why up here, there's no name showing up, because the dot is an unnamed area. Things can still use those cells, but those cells don't actually have a name on them. So yeah, that can be really useful. If you are using grid, I would suggest using Firefox DevTools, just because it makes your life so much easier. If you don't set up grid template areas, just seeing the line numbers is a lifesaver. So that can be really, really useful in the long run. And when you set up a grid template area like that, one thing it does take now is a little bit of time to position the keys on there. And I have no way of selecting them properly now. So I'm just going to come on here and give these classes. Whoops, I should just do 1 second. I think there's a faster way to just move the cursor all the way down, but I don't know the shortcut. And actually, Zell, I'm just going to ask you something really fast while I do this. With grid template areas, like right now I'm going to be using it to move things around, and I know it can be really useful, but there are some accessibility concerns. Obviously, if you're using grid, or even if you're using like flex and changing the order of things, there's always some worry. So like in this case, why wouldn't we put just the number 9 at the top? Like why would we order them this way and then switch it around with grid template areas?
Well, the thing with grid template areas and accessibility is if you put 9 at the top, and if you listen to a screen reader talk the things through, screen readers usually go with the source order, which means whatever order is in HTML. And you'll hear like 7, 8, 9, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, which is not exactly the way how we would envision like running numbers. So instead we go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or alternatively, if you really want to make it how do I say it? If you want to make it really strict, you can start with 0, but I don't think that's needed because we're dealing with calculators now. And if people hear 1 to 9 in sequence, they will probably understand. And anyway, on the keyboard, 0 is all the way to the right anyway. So it's kind of like a give and take on that one.
Awesome, thank you. If you hold shift, 1 second, I just want to try something. Someone mentioned something. Oh, shift alt. There we go, that's what I knew there was a shortcut to do that faster than what I did. So if you hold shift alt in VS Code, you can just drag your cursor and place it at a whole bunch of places. I was clicking for each one. So
alternatively, what you can do is what I normally do is I will do like Command D, and then Command D selects one item.
Right.
And if you do Command D again, you select more of the same item.
There you go. So as I click Command D, you can see my cursors being placed down.
Yeah.
So
then you can select them all together and do whatever you want.
I'm so not a VS Code power user. It's embarrassing for someone who uses it every day. It's a little sad. So here we've set everything up. So I have all my classes now. So here, I'll do it in order. So this might again take a little bit, but R1, and then I can say my grid template area, and area is 1. And as soon as I save that, you can. Did I mess that up? 0 should be there. 1 should be down there. Do I have to? Oh, not template area, grid area. Silly Kevin. So you can see the 1 is now moved down to here because I told it has to live in that cell. At the moment, everything else has shifted around automatically just to fill the empty space. So it goes, oh, well, if the 1's going down there, the 2 can shift over to here. So it does mean that I want to come through and do it for all of these. So here I have my 1, my 2 can go to 2, and it moves down to there, and we just have to keep going with that. So for something like this, it is, whoops, that should be a 3. For something like this, it is a little bit tedious just because we're setting something up where it's all individual like this. But normally, it's a little bit, if you're not building a calculator, this can be a little bit faster if you're just worrying about layout.
If you use SAS, you can use a for loop. I think.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You mentioned that your SAS course, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, a SAS loop would be very useful right now.
Yeah.
8, 9, 10, or 9, 0. Zero, and then I have my decimal clear and equal. And I'll do the, so 9 decimal, whoops, clear. And I won't do the equal one right away. I'm just gonna hit save, and you can see my equal sitting in the middle. I guess I might have made a typo somewhere along the way. Or did I not do 5? Oh, I made a mistake there. There we go. So my equal sitting right here, and we want it to stretch this whole size down. So when I set up my grid template area, you can see I did equal, equal, equal. And if I open up my DevTools again, and I put that on, you can see like equals running the whole way down the side here. So, and it's a bit hard to see, but there's like here, it's like really thick lines showing that it's like one cell. This is one big cell now where we're spanning 4 rows by the way we've set this up. So on that one, if I come down and if we do equal, gotta spell, I'm having trouble spelling, it's too late at night for me. So if I have equal on both of those and I hit save, I should have turned off my grid template areas. Let's just turn that off so we can see everything. And now you can see that the equal one is actually stretching the whole size that we have there. So that's really useful. Another really nice thing with grid is that we can do things like that. Another thing that we want to do now is, I'm just trying to think, the color of that one should be different too, actually. So the color on that one should be my orange 400.
Background color.
You need, oh, background too, yeah. It is too late for me. I'm not used to doing work, and this should be a variable.
Yeah.
Var. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Do we have any other ones that are the orange? No. Okay.
Nope. I think I did style the plus minus times divide thing a little bit differently, but I can't remember offhand what they look like.
So we'll do those really fast. I have it off screen.
Let me just do a quick check.
Think here, let's just try. So it was plus, minus, whoops, minus, times, divide. Now this, I'm making separate classes. Like I made all separate classes for this. It would have, you know, if all of these are going to be styled the same and all of these are going to be styled the same, it would probably make sense to have a single class. So you have the different classes that are separating them. But here, let's just do a background var color. Oh, it's not color. That's how I name my stuff. I think it was the gray 100 or 200. And the other buttons are a bit lighter, eh? Those are like that. Yeah.
The operator buttons are, I think it's 100.
100? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And
the other ones should be white.
Yeah, remember the hover and focus states.
Mm-hmm. So for this one here, we could do a hover and a focus on that one. For the equal, I'll start there. So we want the hover and focus. If ever you're doing a hover state, as developers, we're on our desktop usually, and so we're always worrying about the hover states and not always focus states. So it is important for accessibility reasons to always make sure you have the focus state in there as well, just so there's a visual clue if somebody's using their keyboard to navigate something like this. So there we go. I think that's looking all right. Now we need some on here too. I just want to look at the original one that we had that was lighter. I'm wondering here, I'm just going to run down on all these classes here. Whoops. Starting here. On these ones, I'm just going to put number. I know these two aren't numbers, so we might change that after, but just so I can style them all at the same time. And even these ones, I should probably put operator. I forgot this one. Operator. Just because, like, this is what they're minus. Do I have times divide? There we go. So this is like the individual classes, but here I could treat them all as one. So here, instead of having to select 4 classes, I could just do my operator and style it that way. And then I could do the dot number. Background on those can be my gray 50, I think. Isn't it? Oh, it's 050.
I think it's 050, or probably not even a background at all. Maybe it's white.
No?
I remember. All right, let me just open up my code again.
There we go.
Just
okay.
close.
You just closed it?
Yeah.
I think we had a color on there. But that's all right. I can leave it like that. And then what we could do is come in and say that my number hover and the focus.
Oh, it was 100 for keys.
For the
and 100 for operators as well. So it's the same color.
Gray 100. It's the same color in the end?
Just let me check.
Okay.
I think so.
You can spell gray with an E. Whoops. I was gonna say you can spell gray either way. That's why I misspelled gray before. That might be why it didn't work. You can spell it either way if you're using the keyword. I see Lewis asking me what I'm using for the web server. Right now I'm just using VS Code's. It's an extension called Live Server. I use it for demos and stuff like that just because it's so easy. It's one click, it runs a local host, so really, really simple.
Kevin, it's 50 on the numbers, yep, and 100 on the
hover. Perfect.
On the operators. On hover is 200 for all.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Say that again. On the operators, it's.
On operators, it's 100 normally. Yep. Mm-hmm. 200 on hover.
Perfect. Okay.
On the numbers, it's nothing on hover. But on focus is 200.
200. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's there. And then these ones. Hover. And whoops, or whatever. Operator. Focus. gray 200. So now you can see if I tab through, we can see that it is working. Now it is going in that order because that's the order that it is in the DOM. So we can see that how it goes through, but we can tab through and shift tab our way through the keyboard and see what we're highlighting as we go through there. And there we go. So that is set up. Now one thing, there's a few more things to do here. I think one thing I want to look at is also, just really fast, is setting up on the calculator itself. And I think Zell had done this a little differently, but I was playing with it. So on the calculator itself, we had a border radius of 0.5 rem. So if I put a border radius of 0.5 m on this, it doesn't actually show up. And the reason, if I do that, and can I... It's not showing up because what's happening is the buttons right now, I'm pretty sure actually, before I put overflow hidden. There we go. And now we can see the border radius that's coming on there. This can happen with things like buttons or with images where you might give a border radius on something and then you don't see it because the button itself has the square edge to it still. So it's the same as, if you have an image that's too big for its parent, you put in a really big image and you don't have a max width on it or something, it spills out the side. You can do whatever you want with the parent. If the image is bigger, it's going like that. So it's the same idea here. So if you have a border radius, you can do that just to make sure that it respects the border radius everywhere. All right. For the, I see, yeah, we could have done that. Here I got a little bit messy because all of this is using setting up for the same color. I could have all done this on one selector too. Whoops, sorry. Since they're all switching over to the same color, we can just clean up the CSS a little bit there and have it all focused on the same one because there's no reason not to. And I feel like I did something wrong because we're missing.
What do you think we're missing?
I'm wondering if I'm just thinking the buttons. There, I did. I never styled the default state of the button. That's why I was having a bit of trouble with the background color not coming through. But I think overall it's actually looking pretty good considering that. And because of that though, the one thing that was driving me nuts a little bit is you can see the border of like the default border of the buttons coming through, which doesn't look so nice. So we could say here, now you could, because this is an isolated calculator, like there's nothing else on this page, we could just do a button and just select them all. But I do think it does make sense to say calculator keys and the buttons inside. Like if ever this was going to be brought out somewhere else, you wouldn't necessarily want to style all the buttons the same way. So a button, the border of 0 on there. Now this does create a problem. Well, you might like that look, but it's a little bit strange that everything is stuck together. So I do think we could come in with a really small grid gap of say 2 pixels, and then you start getting that to show through. So in this case, the grid gap, which is putting 2 pixels between every cell, it just looks a little bit nicer than that default border that was coming on. You also get a bit more consistency between your browsers with something like that. We could also, I mean, on here, we could put some padding and some other things on it, but it's not that far off what the final output should be. So I don't know if you're happy with that.
I think we're not too far off. I think we can go ahead with whatever we wanted to go ahead with, I guess.
Yeah. I see someone mentioning cursor pointer. The third column width is bugging me. Is the third? Oh, it is a little wide. Oh, it's because of the AC. Okay, we'll switch that. I'll make the switch on the fly here and just make it a C, so they're all the same.
Okay.
What's your opinion on using cursor pointer?
Cursor pointer, I do not have a strict opinion on it, but I read that for buttons, you should use the normal mouse pointer instead of the cursor pointer because the cursor pointer points to links, and you want to emphasize that link. But let's say, for example, if you go into Safari or anywhere on your Mac, any button is still going to be the normal cursor, not the normal mouse pointer, which is why in this case, I think I would prefer having the mouse pointer rather than a cursor pointer.
Cool. Sounds good to me. I think it's, I've read that somewhere too. I think we must have read the same article. And it's even like if you're coming up to here, like, you know, all these interactive elements in Firefox that are buttons effectively, you can see that it's not changing to a mouse cursor, or it's not changing to the pointer cursor, I should say. So it's sort of what Zell's talking about there, where it's sort of a native for all operating systems not to do something like that. So I mentioned it in one of my videos, and some people were very opinionated on the matter. But I do think if you're coming on here and you're showing that there's a hover state, like, you know, it is pretty clear that it can be clicked on. And if somebody's coming through, and, you know, we have that coming through.
Kevin, I think there's only one point that I would make at this point. So like if you move a mouse around the 1 to 9, the hover state shows up immediately, and that's a bit disturbing because like you don't really expect the button to be clicked or nor highlighted for some reason. At least that's in my mind. Like having that hover state follow me around, it's really disturbing. It feels like I'm clicking the button, but I'm not.
I see what you mean.
Yeah. So instead of just removing the hover state, and when you do a click on an active state, then that's perfectly fine.
So if it was just a focus then, so if you click, it's going to activate it. So when we click on things, it gets activated. But if not, we're just something like that.
I think it's called an active state.
We have the active too, yeah. So yeah. If it's active, it's a good question actually. If I switch both these to active, I just want to see what happens. Okay, yeah, so something like that. So if I click, it doesn't stay selected. Would you do it as an active? If in that case, it would probably make sense to also have operator focus as well, though, right? Because if somebody's not using their mouse, they need to see what's actually selected, which would be. Oops, I didn't do the number. There we go. So if we're keyboard navigating, you can actually see where you're at. But here it's just like that. But if we click on, we can see that it's being activated. Oh, actually, if we do the focus and the active, it's going to be similar to, because it gains focus when I click on it, right? So it's going to stay highlighted.
It actually doesn't. If you remove focus and you try clicking on it, I don't think it did.
If it's only active, it won't. So if we do that, it'll flash.
If it's active, it does. If it's only focus, it doesn't.
So would you, in this case, would you maybe suggest a different focus state? So just to make it clear, if somebody is keyboard navigating?
Well, I would not actually create a different focus state, because if you do a keyboard navigating, the blue outline should show up unless you decide to remove it for some reason. In that case, then you need to create something else for it.
Have you seen the new, they changed it now on Chrome, eh? It's a black box.
It's a black box now on Chrome?
Yeah. I'm in Firefox. Actually, and that's the issue now. I'm in Firefox, so we can barely see it.
Oh, wait. In Firefox, it's a black box for sure. It's a dotted black box.
Dotted black box.
Not very obvious. Like I'm always a fan of creating my own outlines.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. Oops.
I mean, if you want to create one, you can do one with box shadow. But the problem with using box shadow for that would be, you did an overflow hidden on the calculator, right?
Yeah.
So the buttons like 0, the dot, the decimal, and C, and probably equal. When you have box shadow, it doesn't show over it. Or you can do outlines. It will be easier on the code itself as well.
Right,
so
yeah.
Either one will do.
Cool. So yeah, can you see my screen now?
Which screen are you talking about?
In the live stream.
I can see your screen, but I can't see where your mouse is pointing, because
just where my number 3 is right now. That's the new default focus state in Chrome.
I should probably open this up in Chrome as well.
Yeah, they switch. They changed the thing that's nice about the Chrome one is it looks better than the Glow used to, but it's also like it's black, but if it's on a dark background, it is switched to white.
Oh yeah, it's the default focus state in Chrome is actually okay. I would say.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it more than the old glowy,
Mm-hmm.
bluish thingy that is focused but not focused at the same time. I think I was ranting about it in an article and also in a talk.
Yeah. One of the issues with, I know somebody mentioned in the chat that it'd be cool to recreate it for Firefox. Focus and focus. One of the issues with the, it's an outline that's being used. Solid. I'll just put black for now so we can see it. One of the issues with it, it looks, I mean, it's close enough now. It's almost, but by doing that, we've actually, oh, you lost your view of Zelda. Oh, sorry about that, guys. There we go. It's back. I didn't realize. Sorry about that. Thank you for letting me know. I had the live stream up there instead. The only thing that's really cool about the Chrome one is it does have a border radius on it, which is Chrome just doing their Chrome magic behind the scenes because we can't put a border radius on an outline. And the other nice thing with it is, as I mentioned, it will switch it switches based on the background automatically. So if you have a dark background, it automatically makes the focus white. Which we can't really do easily here. I think there's some cool stuff you can do potentially with some other stuff, but there's some Sass stuff you can do if you know the background color already. But
yeah, if you want to create like custom focus styles, it's really not that hard. I had an article about it somewhere on my blog. I'm just gonna paste that article in the link in the chat.
So while you do that, I'm just going to check the chat out quickly. I see Tomo saying it's the first time that they're seeing what Grid is capable of doing. So yeah, Grid is wild. It's insanely popular. I'm really looking forward to when Subgrid becomes a thing. Firefox supports it, but no one else has jumped on it yet. And I'm really, really looking forward to when Firefox finally supports, or anyone outside of Firefox supports it. But
me too. I'm waiting for Subgrid so badly. I do not want to restart anything at all right now.
I know. I'm in the same thing. I want to redo my homepage, and I'm like, I can't do it right now because I want Subgrid to. And I played around with it a bit, and now even when I'm just using the regular grid, I'm like, no, I can't do it now that I know what's going to be possible.
There was this one point where I had to fake subgrids just for the things I was trying to do, but it wasn't exactly subgrid, and I even had to write an article about this fake subgrid that I created with CSS where we inherited the grid template columns or something. It was really complicated. I don't do that now. Okay, I think we are pretty much done with this, right? One thing, the equal on hover or the equal on focus. Which one would it?
I made it get darker. We have it here.
Do you want to?
Oh, just make it the active there as well. Active.
Yeah.
Perfect. There we go.
Cool. And at least now, when we click equal, you really know you click the equal button, and that tactile sense that you get back from it is really important. It's gonna get really irritating once you start trying to click around the calculator on the next live stream on Thursday, and it's stuck on the focus that you'll be like, what? I tried that. Trust me on that. So
yeah, I believe you. Yeah.
I had so much pain creating this one. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, for today, guys, we're I guess going to be wrapping it up here. Just really quick, again, if you don't know or haven't been following Zell, I'd really recommend that you do, especially if you want to step up your JavaScript stuff. He is, as I said, a bit of a wizard for it, but also a really good teacher. He changed he changed a lot of how I approach JavaScript. And what I really appreciated about his teaching was it goes a lot into the mindset. It's not just like, here's some code and follow this. He goes into the mindset of thinking properly for writing JavaScript, and it's all about actually making stuff. There's no like fizz buzzes going on or anything like that, which for me really clicked. And so if you are looking at that, his course is closed right now. but you can sign up so you'll get notified. And I also put, there's a the JS roadmap that I linked down below. That is, I think that's opened right now if anyone wants to sign up for it.
So the JS roadmap is simply an email course where I walk you through how to not be so overwhelmed with this whole JavaScript thing, because JavaScript is so big, right? And many people feel overwhelmed when they look at, oh my God, what's the whole ecosystem? Do I have to learn Webpack? Do I have to learn React? Do I have to learn Vue and all that stuff when you're starting out with JavaScript? So in that roadmap, I guide you through the different mindsets that you can approach JavaScript, and how many people are just going, like, they're just overloading themselves. Like, if you learn React or Vue without having a JavaScript background, you're trying to drive an F1 car without actually having a driver's license, because you don't even know the basics of, like, okay, what's the steering wheel gonna do? When I step on the accelerator, what is it gonna do? That kind of stuff. So if you are confused or overwhelmed with JavaScript, you do want to take your time in learning the basics. And in there, I created different stages, and I created what's that called? I created steps for you to follow, link out to articles that you may want to read. And I also linked out to some of the very basic articles that I put out on my blog as well, like what is a variable, what is a function. If you're confused with that, you can check that out as well. And I think the most valuable thing I would say in that roadmap is, in each phase of the growing up in JavaScript land, as I'll call it, I do give you a series of questions for you to check your own understanding. And if you can answer all the questions, move on, something like that.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. And if any, I mean, I'm assuming if people are here, they know me, but if you don't know, I am working on a course as well. It's not out yet, but it's the CSS Demystified. So I'll be diving into CSS. It should be out within a month of now-ish, but you can sign up here on the page if you want to follow along or learn more about it. So it's CSS Demystified. I don't know if I put that. The links to all of Zell's stuff are in the description of the video. And if you want CSS Demystified, you can learn more there about it, where I go into, or we'll be learning about how to start writing it with more confidence, a little bit like what Zell did actually with the JS roadmap, where we're sort of breaking down more the thought process and thinking rather than like, here's how to use Flexbox, here's the different properties and all that. It's a bit, we're sort of rethinking things a little bit in there on how to approach thinking about CSS in a lot of ways. So it should be a lot of fun, and I'm working hard on that as we speak. So yeah, it should be out within a month, I think. And
that is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you everybody who has been hanging out here. I hope you enjoyed this. I see Dev Morton to our live. Thanks for hanging out. I didn't see you in here earlier. Thanks for coming. Solomon, thank you for being here. Jody Brooks, looking forward to Thursday. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you guys too. Do you want to talk just a little bit about what, we're not just doing some basic functionality. We're going to be doing a little bit more on Thursday with the JavaScript.
Oh yeah, we're going to be doing something cool. Like, for Thursday, for JavaScript, we'll be doing the basic functionality, like what we'll be doing. Okay, example, we have 1 + 1 equals, and how does it show up on a calculator? And that would be what I call the happy path, or what people call the happy path, like the most basic way to get it started. And then we're gonna do some testing on the calculator. Like, like people tend to use test runners when you start writing tests, but for the calculator, if you do not test, it's going to be really, really painful, because I know when I coded many times before, and I got frustrated to a point where I restarted and rebuilt the calculator and added tests to it. The really cool thing is you do not need to use test runners like Mocha or Jest or anything like that to even start testing front end stuff. What we're gonna do is use console assert, which is what many people don't really think about. So that's something we can try. I think it will be cool, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. And if time permits, I don't know how long we're going to run that for. We might be able to dive into some of the more difficult edge cases. Like, for example, if we do 1 + 1 - equals, what's going to happen? Or 1 + 1 × 9 divide times minus plus. That kind of weird combinations where users can press. Those are what I call edge cases. And we'll see how much time we have and how much we can dive into on Thursday.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you guys. This will be, I won't be doing that. That's gonna be Zell taking over the code, and we'll see him work his magic while he does that on Thursday. So it'll be I see a few people asking in the chat. So the exact same time. So it'd be, for me, it's 9 o'clock local, but same time we started this one. But it'd be on, for me, it's Thursday. If you're on Zell's side of the world, it will be Friday morning.
Yeah, if you're anywhere past UTC, it'll be Friday. If you're anywhere minus UTC, it'll be Thursday.
Awesome. So thank you guys all for hanging out. I'm going to find out how I can end my stream. I've lost my window that has my streaming on it.
All right. Thank you for hanging out with us. I think it's fun. I hope you had fun too as well.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.